welcome to this SUPboarder review of the Aqua Marina Coral Touring. If this is the first time you are joining us on a review, welcome. My name is Bo. We'll be going through everything you need to know about this board, from the specifications to the full iSUP package that you get, inflating the board, the fittings on the board, our thoughts and impressions out on the water, deflating the board off the water, and some of the negatives that we saw on the board before giving you the value for money at the end. Hello again. If you have watched our reviews, it's nice to have you here. Please remember to like, subscribe to these videos, and click that little bell icon on YouTube if you want to get more updates on the awesome content coming out from SUPboarder. The Aqua Marina Coral Touring is best suited to riders who want the ability to pack some extra gear on the board for a touring adventure, but also want the shorter length so your maneuverability isn't compromised. Riders in the weight range of 70 to 95 kilos will really excel on this board when carrying some extra gear, but those riders weighing in from 70 to 80 kilograms who are first-time paddlers will also find this board a good iSUP if you are considering using it for leisurely paddles and also maybe using it for some day touring adventures. Diving into the specifications of this board, it is 11 feet 6 inches long, 31 inches wide, 6 inches thick, and totals 328 litres of volume. It weighs just under 10 kilograms or 21 pounds and has a load capacity of 130 kilograms. The PSI is recommended at 15 PSI, and it retails for £599 or 650 euros. And it fared fairly well in the deflection test at 14 millimeters. Has that center slide-in, click-in fin box. The Coral Touring features Aqua Marina's drop stitch light technology construction, which does drop the weight of the product. A drop stitch core with a single layer around it and a multiple rail band offers reinforcement. You may have heard of the Coral board from Aqua Marina before. This is because they offer an all-round advanced version called the Coral in a 10-foot 2 size. And whilst we're on the other products that Aqua Marina have in their range, the Coral Touring has the same outline shape as the Hyper 11.6, but it has a slightly different rocker line. The Hyper is another touring board that is offered in the double chamber technology, whereas the Coral is just a single chamber. You get a bag, paddle, pump, leash, and fin with purchase of the Coral Touring, so a full package. The bag is quite nice actually and feels comfortable on your back. I do think it has to do with the lighter weight of the board as well. It opens fully to fit the gear in and has a good amount of handles for transporting. The paddle is a basic aluminium paddle with a plastic blade. The blade has a massive scoop and it feels as though you don't get the reach expected from a paddle when paddling it. It weighs just over 1 kilogram, which is pretty heavy, but the clamps are tight and this stops this twisting of the handle. The pump is a GRI double action pump branded with Aqua Marina. This gets the board up to 15 PSI, but it does take a little while to pump it up with so much volume in the board. Double action means you can switch the dial on the pump to number 2 to use both the upstroke and downstroke to inflate your board. When the pumping gets tough, when you're getting up to the top PSI, you switch it to the number 1 dial just to have the single action downstroke inflation when pumping. GRI are a top pump manufacturer, so it's nice to see this with purchase. You also get a good branded Coil Leash with the package, and the fin is color coded to the board, which is a nice finish and uses the click-in system with a tab. Now, a deflection test measures the stiffness of the board. We place the board on a 1.5 meter gap with a 75 kilogram weight on top and see how far the board bends. At 14 millimeters, it fared pretty well considering we get boards that range from 9 millimeters to 27 millimeters. A stiffer board will equal better performance. Jumping into the fittings on the board, the large cargo bungee area up front gives you the ability to carry loads of gear. You don't often see 6 tie-down points, and we like the tightening adjustment on the bungees as well. You can really adjust it to secure all of your gear. The center carry handle is well weighted and comfortable to carry the board. You also receive a shoulder carry strap with the package and can use this either when the board is deflated or when it is inflated as well. More bungee systems are found at the back of the board too, with another 6 tie-down points to carry your gear. The Eva Deck Pad is a diamond groove pattern with crocodile grip, so it is extra grippy. There's also a raised kicker at the tail on that pad. The valve point is located just behind the tail pad, and there is a D-ring leash attachment point for your leash. Flipping the board over, we have the single slide and click-in fin box, along with a runner at the tail for better water release. Immediately, we noticed the great build quality on this board. No signs of glue unstuck or anything to raise the alarm, which is fantastic from a board in this mid price point range. Getting out on the water, and you can really feel the nimble, agile motion of the Coral Touring. A lot of touring boards are usually over that 12 feet in length mark, so the shorter length helps to turn the board. Also to note, the lightweight construction made the board feel lively. You can see that the board turns on the spot when doing a step back turn and with speed as well. This is great for smaller riders who might struggle to turn a bigger board, especially when loaded up with gear. The shorter length does hinder the speed though, and you won't get a fast touring board from this, but that's not an issue if you are just cruising your local waterway or taking it on a leisurely adventure. The 31 inches of width does decrease drag from other 32-inch wide boards, and the runner helps with water release, so you're gaining performance in those areas. You do feel high above the water though on this board, being 6 inches in thickness and only 31 wide. I wouldn't say that it's unstable, but I really did notice that I had to change my paddle height when compared to other 6-inch thick boards. My gut feel here is that there would be a lot more volume in this board, only 11 feet 6 inches long, which means you are standing a little bit higher. If you are lower to the water level, you get a bit more balance, but I think if you had a lot more gear when you are touring, which the board does allow for, it would sink the board enough to give you that feeling of better balance. We did have a little bit of wind on the testing days, and mixing in that 6 inches of thickness, that feeling high above the water, plus a dry bag on the board and that lightweight nature of the board, it did feel like it was being affected quite a lot by the wind. I had to work to really keep paddling in a straight line. Now the fin, it's a touring style fin with lots of area, so it does add some directional stability or tracking or paddling in a straight line. But when in messy water states or in wind, you can really feel it not doing the job as good as it should be, and you are relying on your technique a lot more. However, the board felt great underfoot with the stiffness. There's a slight nose lift, but it felt and looked great in the flat water, which gives you that great glide and minimizes drag. Deflating the board off the water and packing the equipment away is fairly easy. The bag opens up fully, which is nice, but it is a compact bag for all of the gear, like a paddle and a pump, so it did take some rearranging to get it all in, but it is an easy process, and new iSUPs are always harder to roll up the first few times. Touching on some of the negatives and things that could be improved on the Coral Touring. Well, for a touring specific model, you might expect some extra additions on the board. Firstly, I feel there was a lack of handles for maneuvering the board in shallow water. A handle at the tail or even the nose would just be a nice touch. Also, for a touring board, you might expect a bit better paddle if going further afield on a touring adventure. The aluminium paddle isn't the best and it's heavy, so if you are considering this board, maybe look at upgrading to a better paddle if you want to paddle further for longer. Otherwise, for first-time paddlers, it's hardly an issue. If you are paddling in wind or are a lighter rider, just be careful about the windage of the 6-inch thick board. You may feel too high off the board and open to the elements, so consider a 5-inch thick board. Lastly, Aqua Marina aren't really committed to being eco-friendly, so if that influences your buying decision, you might want to look elsewhere at other brands who are doing good for the environment. But at a mid-range price point in the market, you're getting a lot of board and a lot of great accessories for your money. A quality constructed board, lightweight, lots of bungee areas, and fun on the water, the Coral Touring from Aqua Marina is a great choice. Remember, this board is best suited to riders who want the ability to pack extra gear on the board for a touring adventure, but also want the shorter length so your maneuverability isn't compromised. Riders in the weight range of 70 to 95 kilograms will excel on this board when carrying some extra gear, but those riders weighing in from 70 to 80 kilograms who are first-time paddlers will also find this board a good first SUP if you're considering using it for a leisurely paddle and day touring adventures. Thanks so much for tuning in to this review, and if you have any questions, please do drop them in the comments below. We'll be happy to get back to you. We always will. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on another SUPboarder review really soon.